I didn't get to see all of the Oscar-nominated documentary feature films before the big show, but I did check out three of them, two of them very easily accessible on streaming services, and the other one, I think, is the clear frontrunner to win Best Documentary Feature, so I definitely wanted to check that out as well. Let's talk documentaries. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my movie reviews for three of the five Oscar-nominated documentaries at this year's Academy Awards. We're going to be talking about Bobi Wine, The People's President, which is streaming now on Disney+. We're going to talk about The Eternal Memory, which is streaming now on Paramount+, and then 20 Days in Mariupol, which is not streaming anywhere, but it is available pretty cheaply to rent on Amazon and YouTube and Vudu and all of the places you normally would rent movies for either $1.99 or $2.99. So pretty cheap. So I had to check that one out because it is, word has it, the front runner for the big show. The two that I did not get to see, Four Daughters and To Kill a Tiger. Those are a little bit less accessible. To Kill a Tiger, actually, I don't even think has been released in the United States yet, so that one's pretty hard to find. But in any event, before I launch into the specifics of these films, let me welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. We do movie and TV reviews here on the channel, and I've already reviewed all of the major Oscar nominees in all of the acting categories and directing and the screenplay categories, and of course Best Picture of the Year. So those reviews are all up. I've hit 3 of the 5 animated feature films as well, so you can check out my reviews for all of the Oscar stuff. But please consider subscribing, click that like button down below, or comment down below. What was your favorite documentary this year? I do have a few documentary videos up as well, all of them more celebrity-based. I love my celebrity documentaries, and so I have 3 different videos, each showcasing 4 celebrity documentaries that were released in 2023, and only, I think, 2 of them were up at the Oscars on the short list. One of them, American Symphony, which is with Jon Batiste, the Grammy Award winner. I am not necessarily surprised that didn't get nominated. I thought it was fine. I believe I gave it a B. But that was in contention to be one of the frontrunners before the nominees were announced, and that wasn't on there. So that was a little bit of a surprise. And then I think my favorite from the list that I have seen is still a Michael J. Fox film. Or something like that, but it's called Still. It's on Apple TV Plus, and it's all about Michael J. Fox and his positive attitude over the years with his Parkinson's. And there was another one on the short list I was a little surprised didn't get nominated, called Beyond Utopia. Haven't seen it, but I hear really, really good things about that. So a little shocked about that. But the 3 that I have seen, all of them have some sort of degree of political leanings, not necessarily like leaning like left or right, but in their plot, there's a little bit of politics, at least in all of these movies, and 2 of the 3 are actually very steeped in political stuff going on right now and in the past. So without further ado, let's talk about the 3 movies here. First up, we're going to talk about Bobi Wine, The People's President. This is, like I said, streaming on Disney+, and this is written and directed by Christopher Sharp and Moses Boyeo. Unfamiliar with them. I don't know if they have any history with documentaries, but this chronicles the presidential campaign in Uganda of the popular singer there, Bobi Wine, against a long-ruling regime leader, Museveni, who has been ruling since the 80s. And, all of the political stuff with that, including, Bobi Wine sort of getting attacked and imprisoned himself for even going up against the current Ugandan leader. So this was an interesting one in terms of the politics portion, which I know, virtually nothing about Ugandan politics. And then also Bobi Wine, a singer I was unfamiliar with, but that is quite popular in Uganda, and he does sing songs of, protest and of a political nature and all of that kind of thing. And so he seems the natural choice, I guess, to run. But this really takes us into the history of the Ugandan leader for decades now, and how, they sort of pretended to have a democratic voting, but of course, it was not to be. And basically, if you voted for anybody other than this dude, you were at risk of being injured or killed or whatever. So yeah, we can say things are democratic, but if they're not, they're not. And so this takes us sort of behind those scenes, and then also tells us about Bobi Wine, a little bit about his history as a recording artist and his popularity there, and then as well his political run. So this was good for me. I thought a little bit uneven in its sort of storytelling, because it was like, okay, this happens, and then this and this and this and this. It's very chronological in that way, which look, is fine. But when you're trying to cover two topics at once, which is Bobi Wine, the singer slash person slash political activist, and then the history of Ugandan politics and all of that, I think some things are going to get a little bit lost in the sauce, because you're not really going to be able to devote enough time to either subject. And as a singer, like, yeah, they played us a couple of his songs in the movie, and we know a little bit about the man, but we don't know really about his history as much as I would have liked. And then the same goes for the political process there. Yes, they sort of give us that Cliff's Notes version of, okay, here's Ugandan politics, in the past. Here's where we are today. And one of the really interesting things was, part of this documentary was shot during COVID. So we got to see how the Ugandans treated COVID, how it affected their politics, how it affected a lot of things in that particular area of the world. And look, it's a place that I honestly don't know much about. I certainly know how COVID was handled in some of the wealthier countries, let's say, the first world countries. But a country like Uganda, I really didn't know how it affected them, and what was going on, through that process. All the while, they were trying to do a quote unquote free and fair election. So look, this movie had some interesting things to say, certainly, and I enjoyed getting to know Bobi Wine and getting to hear some of his songs. Some of them were good. Some of them I did not really care for. The song specifically about COVID, I thought was not a great one. But in any event, you can stream this now on Disney Plus. I leave Bobi Wine, the People's President, with a B. Up next, we're going to talk about The Eternal Memory, and this is, as I mentioned, streaming on Paramount Plus. And so this follows the relationship of the Chilean journalist Augusto Gongora and Chilean actress Paulina Uricha. And they are a married couple, and he ends up getting diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And so this, by the way, is directed by Mattei Alberti, who you may know because she was nominated for a movie called The Mole Agent a few years ago, that I thought, little spoiler for my grade, I thought was better than this. So here we basically have or maybe they're not married, but they've been together for decades anyway. So we talk about their relationship. We talk about his history with the Chilean culture as a journalist, and this is sort of where the political part of this movie comes into play, because there is a little bit of learning about the Chilean stuff that he's covered as a journalist, which includes, of course, their political process. But his gal, the actress, she has been a very popular actress there and served as a minister of culture and arts of the whole country for a few years. But through the Alzheimer's diagnosis and everything else, we see sort of their relationship kind of go through those paces. But again, like the Bobi Wine movie, I think that they're trying to tackle too much with this documentary, that we never really get an appreciation of how famous these people are to their homeland. And a small chunk of the documentary is about his journalistic career and the Pinochet dictatorship of the country, and how his work leading up to his diagnosis has really been about getting the word out about this dictatorship and sort of preserving those atrocities so they're not forgotten by the people. And meanwhile, he's forgetting a lot of things and a lot of people with his Alzheimer's. So you get a little bit of that. But again, like Bobi Wine, I think this movie's trying to do a little too much, because it's trying to explain to us who these people are, why they're important to the country, whilst also sharing, okay, here's the Alzheimer's stuff, here's the horrors of that, and dealing with day-to-day life with that. And in my mind, we've seen movies both I think in documentary form and scripted form where we are talking about Alzheimer's and dementia in very real terms, and there's been a lot of great movies dedicated to that subject. I'm not positive why specifically we needed to have these two famous people being affected by it. I guess maybe to show, okay, it can affect anybody, sure. And obviously there's a little bit of a dichotomy with him being, this great Chilean journalist about, hey, let's never forget that these atrocities happened. Meanwhile, he's, forgetting everything. I can understand sort of the purpose of that, but as a result, we never dive in deep enough to who these people are as people. We are more focused on the Alzheimer's, and again, that's fine, but maybe it would have been better to do it with two people who are not famous, and sort of, again, it would be harder to chronicle those lives, I guess. One thing is we have a chronicle of both of these people on screen for many years, him being a journalist, her being an actress. So, okay, I can see that part of it. But as a result, I never felt that we got in deep enough to them as people. Obviously, Alzheimer's, horrible, that and dementia, it just scares me so much, to think about. And having known people with that affliction, it's tough. Obviously everybody knows that. But I'm not sure if we get much more than that from this movie. So I leave The Eternal Memory with a B-. So far, neither of these, blowing me away for best documentary. The Michael J. Fox movie definitely higher up than either of these on the scale. But now we get to the one that I think is most likely to win. It's got a lot of buzz behind it, and it certainly makes sense that it could win with what's going on right now. This is 20 Days in Mariupol. And like I mentioned, you can get this for pretty cheaply, $1.99 or $2.99 on any of the services where you get your movies to download. This is a Ukrainian documentary film directed by Mislav Chernov. And I believe this was also Ukraine's pick for Best International Feature, and it did not get nominated in that category. Sometimes the documentary and international do get nominated together. This one, though, not so much. This just got the documentary nod. But this is basically about the start of the war in Ukraine currently, and this tells the story of 20 days that Chernov spent with his colleagues besieged in Mariupol after Russia began the Ukraine invasion. So it's like right at the beginning of everything happening. And I'm not a huge geography guy. I've never heard of Mariupol. I wasn't sure where it was, but it's like one of those cities that's just right on the edge. So the taking over of that city would have been a huge boost for Russia pretty much right away in the war. So that's, where they sort of went in pretty quickly. And so because this team from Frontline and the Associated Press were there, including Chernov, this is a document of the harrowing things that are going on in, this city. with a lot of people able to get out and flee, and many others not able to do that. And so we see a lot of innocent people hurt or killed. We see pregnant women going through the paces with very little hospital help. One of the hospitals was bombed early on. This, for me, I think deserves to win, certainly of the three documentaries I've seen. But I think of all the documentaries I've seen in 2023, this is probably, I'm not sure if it's the best, but it's certainly the most important. And yeah, some of the footage we have seen on the news over the years. I try not to watch the news. I think it's too heartbreaking, and this movie certainly is. I watched it late at night after work, and afterwards I needed a palate cleanser, so I watched a couple episodes of an old sitcom. But we have that footage from the news because of these journalists. And this, I think, originally was an episode of Frontline that they sort of reshaped into a documentary feature film. But they're both about the same length. The Frontline special was, I think, maybe 3 minutes longer than this or whatever. Probably did some wraparounds with the journalists. But yeah, I mean, this is incredibly hard to watch because it's so real. Like Bobi Wine, yeah, there was some real stuff there. It was a National Geographic made film, so obviously they got some good footage and stuff of what was going on, in Uganda at the time. But a lot of that was, okay, historically, here's what was going on. No, you are in it. This is front and center, and it is tough to watch. But the journalists, don't give up, and they are still rolling. A lot of people don't even want to be spoken to. In fact, this really stuck with me in the beginning. There's this woman that they're trying to talk to who is attempting to get out, attempting to flee, and they're trying to ask her questions, and she's like, get away, and they're like, well, maybe we at least know your name, and she screams back, I don't have a name. Essentially saying, like, look, I'm going to be dead in, whatever, a matter of days. So it doesn't matter. I don't matter. And that was, that really stuck with me. So this is a great documentary. It really is. I do think it deserves to win. It probably will. And I leave 20 Days in Mariupol with an A. Definitely the best documentary I have seen in 2023. Again, haven't seen the other two that got nominated, so maybe they are just as good as this or better. It's possible, but this one definitely, of the three, the one I would recommend the most. So, all right, well, that will do it. We have the Oscars on March 10th of 2024, if you are watching this before that. If not, you already know who the winner was. Maybe it was one of these. But in any event, thank you for watching Dave Reviews It, and we'll see you next time. Bye.